Hey everybody, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. We're going to check in on cannabis stocks as well as psychedelic names as we are hopefully getting closer to some real concrete change regarding rescheduling. We have new key daily support levels to be keeping an eye on. Let's see what the charts say. Learn how to trade stocks, crypto, and hype sectors with a global chat room led by professional traders as well as daily live streams at chartguys.com. So a couple videos ago talked about how, for me, it was a 75-78% chance that we were going to get rescheduling news from Trump because of what we were seeing on Twitter. Since then, we've gotten some more information. I'm up to 95% chance this is coming. It's just a question of when. So with that known, if that's the case, we've seen enough inside information in the Trump administration since the election that we could anticipate, if it's coming, we should stay strong on the chart. So far, that's what we're seeing. I'll show you the details of that, but that should continue into another leg up. From there, we can see a sell the news event, but just be aware that selling the announcement doesn't mean the top is in. And the example that I gave on the Dales report today was Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a known ETF coming. We were up 200% off of lows over a 15-month period. We spiked on the ETF day. That marked a temporary top. For the next 2 weeks, we pulled back 22%, and then we saw a continuation, another 90% of upside. So if it is known news to a bunch of insiders, they're going to be loading up, giving us that strong chart. We're then going to see them sell into a pop, and if that leads to a pullback, we'll look for it to try and mark a longer-term higher low, to ideally continue a longer-term uptrend for the actual fundamental catalysts playing out. But you have to remember that we're going to see 20-30% pullbacks along the way. And people like myself will have a core position and a swing, or I should say a short-term position, where I will be selling some into a euphoria pop, and then I will look to reload it. And I'll always be keeping a core until we get red flags on longer term timeframes. So the indications that we are seeing a bullish uptrend is, number one, I keep talking about EMA 12. Here's daily EMA 12 support, holding again with the consolidation today, or I should say this week. This week we saw multiple end of day dumps, and one of them on Wednesday, actually Tuesday, gave us the back burner. Again, in the strongest trends and how I have made the most money as a trader, crypto, Canadian cannabis, it is playing these back burners. This was hourly oversold, marking the daily higher low. From that point, we bounced 20% into the move this morning. We then had 5-minute. Look at today. 5-minute oversold marked an hourly higher low at 485. I was buying that today. I ended up grabbing some 486, flipping it. I did a little bit of buying today. I was a little early. I bought the initial hold of $5 support. I averaged down with this bounce, sell it into the 490s. And at this point, I now have a larger position size, the average of which is 496 or 7, something like that. So I'm looking to, that's how I trade the sector. I can either just day trade and lock in the wins, or if I want to build more size, I then sell partial and get my cost basis a bit lower and try and let the larger position play out. So at this point in time, if we're going to make a very simple statement, we're going to say we're not going to get any information from this chart until we break either 433 support or 538 resistance. We are 38 cents from resistance. We are 67 cents above support. So we are closer to resistance than support. Another factor is Powell spoke today and gave indication that the rate cut is coming in September, which favors small caps. And IWM had a surge today up 4%, which is a good sign for psychedelic and cannabis names because low caps seeing rotation means the market is getting more confident and getting in a risk-on mindset. And as we know, these sectors are as risky as can be. And so that's just a little bit of a tailwind. We know it's all going to boil down to a rescheduling announcement, but it's a nice tailwind to have that going on. And once, let's just say we get an announcement, then the broader market and what it's doing and sentiment is going to matter a bunch to me with my analysis of this sector. But one bridge at a time. TCNNF. So again, we're doing the same thing that we just did on MSOS. We care about 676 support and we care about 925 resistance. We're $1.27 below resistance and we are $1.22 above support. We're pretty much smack dab in the middle of this range. So just looking at MSOS and TCNNF, we can say TCNNF is slightly weaker just because we haven't bounced as significantly from what we gave back during that daily consolidation. But we're still holding daily EMA 12. The red flag will come if we confirm daily downtrends on these charts. GTBIF, big bounce. $9 is the level. 732 is the support. And we don't get any new information until one of those breaks. And again, sideways is not a bad thing after a breakout. Sideways allows for moving average support to catch up. It allows for the market to determine a new fair value. We were trading sideways down here, and the market was determining fair value between the low and upper $4 range, supply and demand. We then get demand outweighing supply, another leg up. We're now doing the same thing, just sideways and establishing what those fair values are, and hopefully the demand wins again. CURLF came up towards 308, didn't break it. We care about 241 support. If that holds, the bulls are in complete control. So I'm not doing anything if these daily higher lows are holding. We are seeing a little bit of strength in the higher listed names in the sense that you look at TSND, which is on the TSX, and we are grinding higher. We topped out August 14th, just like when all those other names topped out that we just looked at, but we're grinding higher and hitting higher highs. So 112 key support, 145 key resistance. If we break 145, next zone, I'm looking up at 180, 185 is the next resistance zone, but a significant move off the low. We just also have to remind ourselves, I look at this chart and I say, okay, we just went 400% straight up off of the all-time low? Yeah, 400% straight up off the all-time low. So weekly consolidation is going to happen. And we're going to look for a weekly higher low to be the result of that consolidation. But we just have to keep that in the back of our minds. Because when it's happening, the longs in this name are going to be acting like the sky's falling and it's all over, especially if we haven't heard anything yet. And here we go again. We're giving it all back. No, you don't go up 400% without seeing consolidation along the way. So there's no indication of that consolidation right now. But again, just remind yourself, keep that in the back of your mind. And after rejecting from weekly EMA 12, time and time and time and time again on the way down, you want to start holding it on the way up. HITI, very significant move this week, big time volume. That's big boy volume there. That is $10 million plus traded, and that is the highest dollar volume. It's the highest share volume in years, and it's probably the highest dollar volume since the 2021 tops. That's significant. Daily stair step up. Every day is a higher low for the last 7 days in a row. And we are testing a very key resistance level. We broke it by a few pennies, 362. But that's the highest level in years. Highest level in 3+ years. So very significant. Again, next time we start daily consolidation, does hourly oversold mark the daily higher low, just like it did on MSOS? If I want in on this name, I'm not chasing it. I'm waiting for hourly oversold. That's why it's called a back burner trade. I stick the trade on the back burner and I patiently wait. VFF, as we know, has been the lead bull. 252 key support. New high today, grinding up. Battling 3 psychological right now. Next resistance level would be up at 353. But again, same thing. This was a good example of hold that weekly EMA 12 into continuation. Lots of space for a weekly higher low whenever that consolidation starts. But VFF, just that grind up, similar to TSND. Canadian higher listed names, Tilray, very similar to MSOS, $1 key support, 137 key resistance. We're fairly close to the middle of that range. And again, you compare it to CGC, clearly the weakest name, giving back way too much of this move. Again, just measure the retracements if you want to compare. CGC gave back, that's probably 75% plus of that pump up. Tilray gave back something like, 45%? So not nearly the same kind of retracement. If I wanted to hedge, I'd be keeping an eye on CGC for a daily lower high and looking short, but that's a bit more complex. I also have some Cron still. I got Cron before the breakout and just holding it as long as the higher lows. I'm going to move up my stop, stick it under 237. If that breaks, it's a red flag. If we keep the higher lows going, we're looking back at 277. The majority of my position is MSOS at this point. And that's what I trade more actively because it is more liquid than the underlying names. And the underlying names, anybody who trades with any kind of size knows that trading those names on the OTC is junk. Other than that, ACB pulled back a bit more. So I'd say CGC had the worst retracement for bulls. ACB had the second worst retracement for bulls out of the names that I look at. So out of everything we just looked at, we know the weaker names, we know the stronger names, VFF, HITI, TSND, and then the US names somewhere in the middle. Now we're going to head over to the psychedelic sector, which also has been seeing some nice strength. All right, so just as far as game plans, if you're looking to add to positions, you're ideally doing it on red days. If you want to be real aggressive, you're doing it on 5-minute oversold. If you want to be more patient, you're doing it on hourly oversold. If you want to be real patient, you're waiting for weekly consolidation. My game plan, I'm looking to average up on some of these names in psychedelics. I'm waiting for a move higher. How does that make any sense? A move higher, if we can turn key resistance into support, tells me that we're going to get another leg up. And I'll show you examples of that in just a moment, but ATAI, bull flag confirmed, new 3.5-year highs or whatever it is. And this is what I mean by sideways consolidation is not a bad thing. After you've run 100% plus, you're just churning things sideways and then another leg up. So I will call anything above 360 a daily high or low on ATAI. I will exit some position if 360 breaks. Next, we're looking up towards 5 psychological. But again, just a really strong weekly uptrend for months at this point. And what had me interested in this name was this monthly equilibrium, and that broke bull at 257. That was your go signal to get to multiple year highs. And again, out of everything that we're looking at, there's only maybe 3 names that are at multiple year highs. HITI, VFF, ATAI. Everybody wants to get to that level. It's like you're clearing a whole wave of bag holders that are underwater. I mean, for MSOS to get to 3-year highs, we would need to be up over 1137. Think of how many bag holders would then be in the green. So many. And that would be so much less overhead supply of shares if we were up in that range. So the stocks that are up in that range get priority for me. So again, ATAI, I'm going to watch the response to hourly oversold conditions. Does that mark a daily high or low? And same thing, look at the monthly chart. The monthly chart just went straight up 300% plus. Monthly consolidation will not be surprising when it happens. We have to remind ourselves, monthly consolidation is going to happen at some point. Ideally, we get another leg up first, but you have to determine, are your positions going to sit through monthly consolidation? Are you going to exit and look to reload lower? Depends on your experience level. You can also do partial positions. I'll exit half of my position if this key support level breaks and look to reload it lower. MNMD is battling a very key resistance level. We've topped out in the mid $10 range many times in the last 2 years or year plus. So we topped out 1034, 1044, 1049, and today it was 1035. I will add to this position when this resistance turns into support. So it's very clear resistance. Get over it, turn it into support, and I will average up. The key support for me is 911. A break of 911 would be a convincing rejection. That would be bears winning the battle. We're still battling. We're still in play. Next week we're going to be looking at this range still. We haven't closed over $10 many times on this name, so that's a good sign. But if you lose 911, bears win that battle. CMPS, trying to be a weekly bull flag. Again, look at this low $5 resistance zone. I'm up something like 80% on this position. I will add when I'm up 100%. 100% higher than my first buys, I will add. Because that's something I'm trying to get better at, is adding to winners. And we've rejected from this range between 503 and 522 in the last year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major times. Get over it and hold it as support, and it will tell me there is a long-term shift in the structure of this chart taking place. This name has the most work to do out of all the psychedelic charts because we had a big drop on data. And again, that big drop is the fear in the sector that I use to establish some longer-term positions. CYBN, still a lead bear. I get people messaging me, telling me I'm going to regret it, that I don't have this position. It's very simple. I focus on strong names. I want to go long the stronger names. And this name was the weakest of the 4 back when I bought these names at the end of June. All the names that I bought are up 40 to 90%. It's red compared to the end of June. It's done nothing but underperform. Can that change? Yes. And if it does, I can change my mind. But I'm not going to change my mind as long as there's relative weakness. And so on this current bounce, yeah, it's a nice bounce off the lows, but anything under 775 is just a daily low or high. We've got to confirm a daily uptrend. We have not seen a clear daily higher low and higher high. The last time we had it was June. So you look at a name like ATAI, which has done nothing but daily uptrend for months. CYBN has done nothing but daily downtrend since earnings. So that's how I approach trading, and that's what works for me. It has nothing to do, maybe the fundamentals are worse than the other companies. I don't know. But the amount of times I've seen fundamentals not matter and charts matter more, that's what I base all of my decisions off of. So maybe someday I'll hold CYBN, but not anytime soon. All right. Establish your game plans. We now have key support levels on daily charts to be watching, specifically in the cannabis sector. If those hold, nothing to worry about. It's just a waiting game. Also note, when we get an announcement, we can anticipate a big spike up. MSOS will likely halt up, and when it does, the underlyings will keep trading. So if I'm trying to rush to buy and I miss it, and MSOS halts, I can run to an individual name and buy there. So just keep that in mind. And again, let's just say I luck out and I'm right at the computer and someone posts in the chat where I see price first, price shoots up, I confirm, yep, we got it, rescheduling, Trump says it. I'm market buying a large position and I will sell some of that large position into that pump fairly quickly. Let's just say I buy it 550 and we're ripping and we're already up 20%. And then, we're up later in the day to 580. If I sell a third of what I just bought, and I'll stick a stop at break even, and then try and let that larger position ride out longer. And again, I won't sell any of a swing position because I know hourly consolidation will happen after big pumps, and it'll still just be an uptrend. But I will more actively be trading a larger, shorter term size. That's my game plan going forward. Feel free to ask any questions. Thanks for any likes and shares. Obviously, a lot of interest in the sector. And the more interest the videos get, the more often I'll make them. And otherwise, again, I do those quick, short updates on Twitter. Little quick chart check-ins. We want to continue to see oversold conditions mark longer-term higher lows. 5-minute oversold for hourly higher lows. Hourly oversold for daily higher lows. Do good things. See you next week.